Previously on the SMITE Minor League.
What's going on out there, SMITE fans? Finch here, and welcome into the SMITE Minor League.
We're in week number 8. There's still 5 more weeks of competition. That 3-3 can easily go into 8-3, especially if there's a couple of slip-ups from Simplicity and Flashpoint.
Great stuff out of Markus, man. This was fantastic for Horizon Union. I got a lot of questions on Flashpoint, but again, I want to focus on the positive here because Horizon Union absolutely put on a show.
Excited for a second set because, I mean, Simplicity now have a great opportunity to extend their lead, and as you kind of highlighted at the top of the show, only the top end of the minor league ends up coming to these Atyrex qualifiers. They now got a great shot. Flashpoint took a loss they probably should.
Really good performance from Queso here, and that game too really was anyone's. It came down to that one play. Game was evenly balanced, but Weirstall was slowly but surely, methodically getting his way around the back between that purple and red buff, catches both the carries with their pants down.
Coming up next, though, is North America. Some interesting teams battling it out there.
Armada up against Exilium. This could be another story of maybe the underdog pulling the upsets. That seems to be the theme coming out of Europe.
It's the whole set in favor of Armada.
Took them an extra game than I would have expected for sure against Exilium, but they got there, and that is the power of having Baskin and Mask on your squad.
Yep.
That game was really close until Baskin started joining team fights, and from that point on, it was basically over. That's why we see Osiris so heavily prioritized by a lot of pro teams.
So, we're moving into the final set of the day, Sanguine versus Crypto.
And this should be a good one. I mean, this is an opportunity for Sanguine. We just saw Armada take a 2-1 victory. They can keep up with them in the standings, but maybe jump ahead a little bit in the plus-minus with a 2-0 potentially here.
Sanguine go ahead, and in 27 minutes of play, take game number 2.
Yet again, the mid-jungle synergy between Panatum and Shinto highlighting in this entire set.
What we're talking about when we're talking about the best of the best.
Yes, and I imagine Armada are going to continue to improve and still look strong throughout these weeks, but if they don't make it there, this is just one of those points where we're like, this didn't have to happen, right? It didn't have to be this way. I hope you all are ready because it's time for the SMITE Minor League. My name is Finch. Happy to have you here joining me. And on the desk, I've got Anatoly Astyaniax right here as well. He'll be my analyst. As we go into this first big set, we're in Europe. To start things off, going to be Simplicity and Horizon Union.
Week 9 matchup between these two teams. An interesting tell of the tales where a little bit of a slip-up for Simplicity in the previous week, dropping their set towards Queso, but then a hot streak for Horizon Union, beating Queso and even Flashpoint.
Yeah, it's been a weird couple of weeks, hasn't it, here in the minor league, where not just Simplicity, but Flashpoint had some troubles as well. That's really opened up this European minor league, where it looked like those two were going to start running away with it, and Queso had some slips. Now, because of that, out cold coming into the picture a little bit more, Queso obviously there, and even potentially Horizon Union.
Horizon Union are not mathematically out. With their current standings towards qualifying towards Hi-Res Expo, they could still end it at 6-4, which is better than Flashpoint and Simplicity's worst possible ending at 5-5.
Exactly, which means that if they are to continue to have a really good phase and then those teams were to struggle, they could certainly make it in. Here's the breakdown on that path towards making it to the championship. Remember, we're in that first phase on the left there now, where there's 2 teams that make it from the top of the minor league into that placement week stage, November 3rd and the 8th, or through the 8th, excuse me. That's where everyone's trying to get one console team from each region, or rather the top 2 console teams will be there with them as well. And then, of course, all those teams make it to the World Championship once they're done qualifying.
It's a long and difficult journey for these minor league teams, but don't forget what Insignum were able to do back in Season 5 towards that Hi-Res Expo qualifier. Beating out Trifecta was an impressive tale. They almost actually made it towards the very end, but you can never count out these minor league teams. Even look at MSI, for example, Armada back then, able to beat out Team Rival, the #1 seeded SPL team.
That's right, and Rival really has looked really strong since then. I think gives a lot of credit to that win for Armada, and does go to show to your point that these minor league teams cannot be overlooked, and that's why those coveted top 2 spots are so critical. Each and every matchup, you have to make sure you're bringing your A game, or you might not even have a chance to write one of those fairy tale endings.
speaking of bringing your A game, Simplicity last week dropping the ball against Queso, not really bringing their A game, but I expect that to kind of revitalize them. This is a very experienced team with the likes of maniaKK, Faeles as well. DeathPanter. It's just so important for them to find their synergy back into this set, because if they can win this one, then that kind of eliminates almost the possibility of Horizon Union making it towards Hi-Rez Expo.
You're right. That's a huge win for them if they can push Horizon Union a bit further back down and also start to grab that head-to-head in case anything like that comes up down the line. A matchup that I'm really looking at, though, maniaKK and Terra for them over in the solo lane. I feel like Terrorem's been playing at such a high level for this Horizon Union team, a big part of that surge for them. maniaKK, remember, is not just an SPL caliber player, but he was near the top in the SPL when he was playing there too. I think he needs to bring back some of that old magic and kind of show this young gun what's up.
Aggression meets aggression in this solo lane matchup. Wouldn't be surprised to see if either Achilles or an Osiris/King Arthur are highly contested in this picks and bans, but a very interesting solo laner already banned by Horizon.
You're right. Amaterasu banned out here this early is not particularly common, I would say. I mean, we've even seen some Amaterasu support, so they might just be saying this is a valuable pick for Simplicity in general. They want to take it off the board. But the Thoth, the Isis, the Morgan, Thor, these are much more common bans, just kind of meta bans that we generally see nowadays.
Something you would also see potentially is Ullr being on the list. A Muzen Cobb is highly contested, having that mid-pressure clear, but going for a different option is Simplicity, leaving both the Ullr and the Muzen Cobb, so that way once Horizon Union takes one, Simplicity can take the other.
Erlang Shen still out there as well, man. There's a ton of value in, Set. Somehow that's being overlooked here at this point too. Horizon Union have grabbed this pick, and in so many cases, I mean, that's just a win. That's how strong Set is right now.
Oh yeah, how can we forget about Set, right?
Yeah.
The King Slayer. He's got that ability into his title for a reason. He pops that ultimate ability. Good luck trying to get away from that 25% movement speed and all the clones he's going to be bringing through the Sandstorm.
Chronos is not a bad response, though. Of course, a little bit weaker nowadays, but certainly still strong. If you can get him some of that solo farm over there in the long lane, get to be a couple of levels ahead of everyone else when he rotates in, he can certainly be impactful. And the Terra, that gives them a ton of team fighting presence and someone to follow up.
Horizon Union picking the Merlin, I think, is a surprising aspect for me, knowing that Simplicity maybe might lock that in regardless with Chronos, knowing that they have StreakUp in that long lane. He prefers the mages there, and still to see Ullr and a Muzen Cobb undrafted yet as we're heading into the second phase of bans is surprising.
Yeah, especially this Muzen Cobb. That's so surprising, right? Because it's so much pressure that you get for free in the middle lane when you take that pick. But so far, neither of these teams particularly valuing it. This Batz, though, adds so much control to these team fights. Now, when this set does start to dive the backline, gonna be less beads there for him, less Aegises, because those things have to be used on Fear No Evil.
Smart ban from Simplicity as well. This Cupid is not normally commonly picked, but if you're looking at the draft from Simplicity, they're relying on their escapes. The Terra Dash, the King Arthur 3 out of 6 abilities that uses some sort of gap closing ability. That cripple is going to be detrimental, and I wouldn't be surprised if Simplicity do ban away another cripple god.
And I have heard that Cupid does quite well with this new Heartseeker, so that might be something else that these teams are worried about, right? Is all that extra damage coming out from Fields of Love and Heart Bomb, as if it didn't do enough already. On her, by the way, also waiting until the second phase to get banned out. There's been a bit of an odd picks and ban phase. There's a lot of value that's down there that could have certainly been picked, but if On Her is still there, it certainly makes sense to take it off the table.
I like the Ullr pick a little bit here, knowing that Chronos is more basic attack focused, whereas the Ullr is ability focused. They could have doubled down on basic attackers with Hachiman going for the Heavenly Banner boost, but looking for a kind of a mixed balance is a better option.
Do you think they're going to be lacking for AoE? I feel like Terra's ultimate can kind of make up for that some. It does give like a little bit of extra damage for you, but I feel like this team could definitely be lacking with some big area of effect damage.
I could see that, but I also see how much burst damage they have for the single target.
Sure.
One time stop into the axe, all this long range follow-up. Keep in mind, if the game goes like, let's say 30 minutes and there's those weird fire giant dances where you're looking for picks, you kind of want this long range Chronos Ullr combination to be safely poking from a distance.
Well, if they do get someone pulled in, as you said, they're definitely going to blow them up with that combination. Kumbhakarna and Cernunnos rounded out here for Horizon Union, and this Kumbha adds a ton of control. Between this and the Batz, and then you add in the Wild Hunt too, good luck if you're Simplicity keeping your beads off cooldown. Totally, it's time for us to move into game number 1, Horizon Union versus Simplicity.
Get ready for the action, folks. HU versus Simplicity. Tom Battinger and Ryan Aggro Bailey on the cast here, and Doug bringing you the vision like a line between two dots. You ready for this one?
I am. I'm excited because this is a huge game for Horizon Union. They've been on the rise recently. They've been playing really, really well. And if they want to have any hope of making it to that top 2. They've got to beat Simplicity here today, it feels like. And last time these two played, it was a very, very close set. So I'm anticipating more of the same here today.
Mr. Stefan is going to be a big part of what Horizon Union is able to do. He's been the carry for a number of teams now, trying to make it happen. And by that, I mean the strong man. He's largely played middle lane, but Mr. Stefan here in the carry role, he's going to be heavy lifting for Horizon Union. But Echrome has been a big part of how Horizon Union find their victories. More strong, just strong, I want to say like stoic play in the middle lane. Rarely is he going to go 12-0, but he kind of gets it done. The big question mark is Markus. Is Markus going to show up? He's on the Hun Batz, which is one of his go-to picks, but Markus tends to be the swing player for Horizon Union. If they do well, Markus is doing well. If the team does poorly, usually Markus is trailing behind.
Ooh, good little stun by Genetics actually makes Asti pick up that blue buff by accident. Stunned him right on top, so good work there by Genetics. But overall, I agree with you. Markus is a guy to watch out for sure. Terrorem as well has great games at times on King Arthur and gods like that. How well can he do on this set? And these picks and bans from Simplicity is exactly what I would do if I thought that their Horizon Union didn't have a set player.
Right.
And I think that's a reasonable bet to take, because no one is giving up set ever, and he is a different type of play style. If you assume that pick is just getting banned every time in picks and bans and scrims, then maybe they won't have practice with it. I think this idea makes sense. It's a risk for sure, because you also give up Markus's best pick. You give Mr. Stefan a Merlin priority selection. It's tough, I think, for Simplicity, but I like the experimentation of giving Terrorem this set and seeing if he can really pilot it. And I'm also excited to see the experimentation here for Simplicity of moving StreakUp to mid lane and DeathPanter over to that long lane. This is what some teams have done, move their Hunter players towards mid and their Mage players towards duo. But here's where my disconnect is.
What's up?
They already had their Hunter player in mid, and they already had their Mage player in duo.
Right?
StreakUp has been playing Mages long before this meta really came through. DeathPanter's been playing Hunters his whole career in mid. I'm not a huge fan of the switch up, honestly. I think StreakUp is your playmaker, your big play guy. DeathPanter is a really good stay-at-home communicator, understands what he wants to do. He's just not as mechanically gifted as StreakUp is, and that's fine. You don't have to be the best mechanical player on your team to play a carry role. That's really, I think it's a big misconception there.
I agree.
I would have preferred to see StreakUp stay in the long lane, but maybe this has been working better for Simplicity. We'll see if it ends up paying off.
My favorite iteration of this is when it is team, character or matchup specific. And that's kind of what I'm hanging on to, because DeathPanter previously used to play Hunter, so I'm kind of there with you.
Right, but at the same time, StreakUp played Chronos as one of his best gods.
Right, but if I'm looking,
why are you taking him off of it?
Because if I'm looking for a playmaker with maximum mechanical prowess, I'm looking for the Ullr. You know what I mean here?
Sure, but DeathPanter's proven that he can play Ullr at a high level in the mid lane and get the job done right there. And then you have StreakUp making huge plays with Chronos, one of his best gods, if not his best god, coming out of the long lane. I don't know. I just feel like you're kind of taking the ball out of your playmaker's hands with the way that this is going to shake out.
I can respect that, and that's actually, it makes me very eager to kind of watch this one, because I think if we're on a pre-game desk, right, and you say, well, this situation will wind up going what you just said, or I can come out and say, well, this means StreakUp will be involved in more of the plays.
Sure.
And we'll see DeathPanter a little bit later. Will his impact meet that of the impact of StreakUp being around more often and involved in more of the mid-game 3v3? And I think that's, a coin flip, essentially. That is coach's decision. Do you want your playmaker, as the term we're using, involved more often, or with the farm to make the big impact later? And that's approach to the game.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point to bring up. I mean, this tells me that Simplicity felt like their 3v3 was lacking in the mid lane. Just based on what I've seen, I think StreakUp has been arguably their strongest player throughout this year.
Sure.
Maybe as of late, Faeles has stepped up a lot. Maybe he's surpassed StreakUp. But overall, he has been the dude for this team. Alongside Genetics, I think those two have really been the guys overall over the course of this year. Maybe they feel like DeathPanter's playing really well right now and just want to get him a lot of farm. There could be a million different reasons why Simplicity do this. We're basically assuming a lot.
Yep.
But we can only go off what information we feel like we have, and that tells me that Simplicity wants to win their 3v3 a little bit harder. But their play doesn't tell me that. They've been very passive through the first 6 minutes. They haven't invaded anywhere.
Truth.
They haven't played aggressively in this mid lane. They haven't tried to force Echrome speeds or anything like that. So I'm still kind of at a loss.
I think that's a testament to Horizon Union. Obviously, Simplicity aren't out here playing solitaire. If they're just playing against themselves, they are doing everything you were just saying. Markus, level 6 now. You walk into that jungle, you're getting Fear No Evil. Into a polymorph, and Asty's going to knock you to the sky. Somebody will probably die if you don't find the pick or the pressure kind of elsewhere around. So Simplicity are probably looking for what you're saying. But Horizon Union, on their side, haven't made any large plays, but they haven't given up any space in the sand either. And I think that goes to show a lot with respects to kind of keeping pressure at bay. I'm looking at Susano and Ullr. I'm supposed to have all the pressure in the world.
Certainly great fight potential. Through the first 5 levels, Susano very weak, I think. Doesn't really bring a whole lot in terms of damage, and clear potential is low. But already Faeles is out of the worst part of Susano's game.
Yep.
He's level 6, he's got full boots. He's still not at the strongest by any stretch, because that'll come with those first few items, and he scales very, very well. We'll see if that ends up being a call.
maniaKK, a couple of different players on top, and you'll get rooted underneath the tower, half HP. Blue buff invade coming up. That blue buff should be up in about 15 seconds. So players from Horizon Union start to sniff it out. Simplicity shade over, as they should. Everybody walks away. This is what I think we will expect, which is kind of funny. The games where you have 2 evenly matched teams tend to be low in action because there's just no room to make action. Markus starts it up and fails. In trouble. Terrorem ends it down.
Big rotation coming in for maniaKK as well, as he'll get knocked up. Echrome still here providing damage, but with StreakUp on the rotation and Genetic's ultimate, that'll be enough. That's just an outright 1v1 win for Markus.
Yep.
Just enough mana for that somersault. Faeles trying to make a play without the rest of the team quite close enough. He's got to expect that there's going to be a much faster collapse from Terrorem and from Asty and from Echrome than where his team can be based on those back harpies alone.
Even there, you know, I think in some ways, as I say, it's low action and a fight happens. Haha, I've been incorrect. But even that is only a one-player kill. I think if you're looking at 2 other teams that are less disciplined, that winds up being maybe a double kill for Horizon Union with an answer back on the back of Simplicity. These teams are mitigating what the opponent can do by just making sure not to fall into any traps and make any hasty decisions. A lot of this is just farm-centric because there is no opening for these teams to jump into.
Surprised at Mr. Steffen's build so far. No Pythag's piece or kind of ramp-up option that a lot of these mages are going for over here in the long lane. Straight into the pen, straight into Spear of the Magus. It makes his fight right now much stronger than if he had Pythag's piece, but he doesn't have that extra little bit of tankiness. And Pythag's piece by itself doesn't really provide a whole lot. It's 200 health. But it's the 200 health in conjunction with the fact that you are 2 to 3 levels above whoever's fighting you.
Right.
That makes you feel super tanky. So Mr. Steffen's really just relying on his damage output being enough in that lane to be the dissuading factor. We'll see if it ends up working out.
As a Merlin, probably one of the few characters that I think I would hang my hat on that. If you're a Thoth buying a Spear of the Magus second, I'm probably scratching my head a little bit. But the Merlin has, 1, abilities that'll work with that spear, and 2, the potential to fight.
Probably, if you're going pen option right away again, which it looks like Mr. Steffen is, this is going to be a Divine Ruin almost certainly. But I think it's just better to get Divine first, because you aren't going to be stacking those ticks on DeathPanter very often. He's got that extra movement speed, and he does have that sustained courtesy of the Pythag's piece. Probably Divine, also a little bit cheaper if my memory serves, so I think I would have gone Divine. If I'm going both, going Divine first makes more sense to me in this lane matchup when he has a Pythag's.
maniaKK here getting ulted and surrounded by the entirety of Horizon Union. Glad Shield in tow, so it's kind of what he wants, but here comes Genetics, and this is going to be a big turnaround. Terra ultimate popped, and now it's a 2 versus 3, 2 versus 4. Echrome shows up, and Astya gets the hit. Nice job. Horizon Union played that correctly.
StreakUp just coming back from base, so not available to rotate in. And and help on that. Blue buff invade successful. Pyromancer will be successful as well. No one close enough to affect this fight. Even DeathPanter was on the way, but decides against staying here long term. Markus's Batz is really good. It's been the pick for him ever since Horizon Union started playing really well.
So here's a question. Markus Batz has been, for the past 3 or 4 weeks, I think, solidified itself as a player-god combination that you gotta watch out for.
Yeah.
Where is the line? When does it become you ban out Kwang versus Johnny? I don't care what meta is, you ban it out 99% of the time. When do you reach that level as a player?
I mean, it's hard. I think that banning it in the first phase is something that you probably won't see a whole lot of unless Simplicity's in that first pick position, because that gives them some throwaway bans. Batz, it is already in my mind slotted into the throwaway ban category.
Right.
Like, if instead of banning something that we just feel is strong in a vacuum that we don't want to play against, we don't want to play against Markus's Batz. It is definitely in the we're banning it in the second phase if you haven't picked your jungler yet, because we definitely don't want to let you have it category. After that, it's probably to the point where you're asking, yo, Faeles, can you just play Batz here? Like, can we just pick it top 3 and make sure that they don't take it? That is certainly in the conversation. Until Horizon Union start being willing to first pick the Batz for him, because that's what really made it so that you had to ban Kwang against Flashpoint, right, was that they were willing to first pick it for Johnny. Horizon Union hasn't showed that willingness yet, so it's not going to be a first ban, because you have those opportunities to either ban it or pick it yourself. Once they start showing that willingness and it's not hurting their draft, that's when it hits that level.
Markus right now going to take his talents into the enemy jungle. Simplicity will lightly respond. Horizon Union waiting for an assassination mark. Markus is going to be here. Careful, though, not dropping the totem just yet. Rooted. They're looking for the perfect engagement. I like the choice of discipline here. I think a lot of teams kind of just go in, drop some ultimates. That was very careful from Horizon Union.
Looks like they got the blue buff as well, so patience pays off in that moment. I'm just very surprised at how slowly Simplicity is playing this game. This is a team that really did steamroll a lot of competition. And look, I agree with you that you have to give a team like Horizon Union a lot of respect. I think they're giving Simplicity. We're already past the point where we're too late to start at this point because you're behind now. But I think Simplicity has given too much respect to Horizon Union with this draft. I mean, you've got Ullr in the mid lane. You've got Faeles on a character that displaces Chronos very well, has purification bead, so not super worried about that wild hunt. And you're putting StreakUp here in mid. You're taking the ball away from him in the late game. You've got to get him touches early. You know, you've got to get him rolling early on. Now he's just going to be less effective from here on out by way of this start. And I think it's a mistake from Simplicity.
I completely agree with that last statement for sure. If you're going to make this move to the middle lane, everything I said, excuse me, kind of backing up the StreakUp move was saying, well, he'll get involved in more of these fights. He'll be able to do more things. The ultimates of Markus and Echrome, I think, are scaring the hell out of Simplicity. You're right. You get your beads chased out, but Ullr, no CC immunity anywhere in the kit. You are going to get eaten by one of those ultimates. You'll beats the first one, but then Echrome follows up and you die. That prevents the invades. That even prevents the defense of the invades as well. If Markus and Echrome are holding hands, I think that scares the hell out of Simplicity, and arguably rightly so.
DeathPanter has to use a purification beads. Puts good damage onto Asti. Genetics there with a stun, but look at how far back StreakUp and Faeles are playing because Terrorem has already made this rotation. They can't afford to peek their head in towards that Gold Fury. That's a big win for Horizon Union. You get Oracle's vision, so you know Simplicity can't burn a Gold Fury without you there.
Yep.
And DeathPanter has no purification beads now.
Horizon Union have been playing real good. Not only have they been playing strong, but and I'm going to ask you to back me up here or just call me out. I think it is more difficult to play these slow and steady bit-by-bit matches than the all-out arena 15, and 10-minute matches. It takes more discipline, it takes more coordination, and you've got to just understand the map farm a little bit better. Horizon Union are doing that, and it's impressive.
No doubt. It is difficult to play these games if you are not accustomed to this level and not understanding exactly where Simplicity is going to be. A lot of the time, you have to keep track of yourself and the enemy team in order to play a slow game like this, and Horizon Union has certainly done that. but they only, you know, they are in control, and I do think that Simplicity has really been so far on the back foot all game so far that Horizon Union has not been gifted a lead by any stretch. They've certainly earned it, but they haven't had to work super hard for it yet either.
Yeah. They don't have to work super hard for the Gold Fury. They even make a mistake. Horizon Union pick the gold. That puts them even further in the lead. About 3,000 wave to wave. Asti might be in some trouble.
Yep.
Surrounded by 2. Knocks one to the sky, brought down to half HP. Wiggles out of DeathPanter damage. Meanwhile, his team is crushing it on the other side. Asti is just zoning while his team stays killing. Wonderful play, and that's all after the Gold Fury. 4 kills. Simplicity still zilch, baby. And Horizon Union making a statement.
This just doesn't feel like Simplicity to me, though. I mean, there's no aggressive nature whatsoever. This Fire Giant is dead before Genetics even gets here. They've got so much damage. StreakUp's going to fall as well as he rotates in at a bad spot. This Simplicity just not playing like themselves today. And a lot of credit certainly goes to Horizon Union.
Block.
Their draft is solid. They're playing perfectly. But at the same time, Simplicity is not putting pressure on them. And if I'm Simplicity, if I've been dominating this region, I've looked really good, I have all this experience on my side, I just don't understand the mindset of let's play slow against a team that's unproven, that's hot right now, that hasn't seen a whole lot. Go in hard. I mean, you just have to, as a competitor, arrogance is good a lot of the time. Maybe confidence is the better word for it. Arrogance is when it gets too far. But you want to ride that line.
Yes.
You have to really feel like you are going to beat the hell out of any team that comes up against you because they just aren't good enough to beat you. You need that mindset or else you probably won't win a whole lot. And if I'm Simplicity, I'm just going in like, dude, these guys have only been here for a couple weeks. We are way better than them. Let's just run at them and see what happens and just outplay them mechanically and outplay them as players. And they've been playing so slow, they aren't doing it.
Horizon Union are hitting the gas now. Asti leading his team towards the middle lane. Simplicity will group up. Tier 1 tower will fall down with Fire Giant easily in the pocket. You know, I say it pretty often, Ryan. If you want to be top 5, you got to think you're top 3. If you want to be top 3, you got to think you're number 1. And if you want to be number 1, you got to think you're the best of all damn time. If you don't have that mentality, you're not fit to be a competitor. And so, I'm understanding where you're at. I really and truly think it's the early game lockdown of those ultimates. I think Simplicity were just way too fearful to fight into that. And when Markus can single-handedly take your jungler out on one side, Asti can zone 3 players out and hand it to Terrorem while the carries take care of the mid lane tower. I mean, this is easy. This is easy for Horizon Union. Double kill for the solo lane set. 3-0-4. 7 out of 8 kills have the solo laner's name on it. This has been a group up from Horizon Union for the past 18 minutes, and we're 19 minutes into the game.
Mid Phoenix in trouble, but Horizon Union's awfully weak right here. StreakUp at Genetics gonna surge forward. Good axe onto Echrome. Asti's able to get in there with 200 health and make sure Terrorem gets the kill.
That's the play that we're talking about, where we're saying you've got to be aggressive, you've got to be almost borderline arrogant. This is arrogance from Horizon Union. They should not take this fight here, but they go, you know what? We're better than you. And the mid lane Phoenix goes down. That was just ostentatious. And then the fight after the fact, well, that's downright offensive.
I mean, when you're up 10K, you get to do whatever you want. You are better than everyone when you're up 10K. There's no doubt about that. And I don't want it to seem like I'm taking credit away from Horizon Union, because this team is super talented. They've been playing really, really well as a unit. This meta certainly seems to favor them with Echrome's God Pool and the way that Markus likes to play. As a team, you know, they work well in their 3v3. I think Asti's really flown under the radar with how well Asti's played. But overall, this is not Simplicity like we've seen them. And I was really hoping for a really good, close set, and I just haven't gotten it here in Game 1. And I think it's largely because Simplicity hasn't played like themselves.
I will give them Game 2 and 3 if they take a win in Game number 2. I'm going to keep coming back to it, man. Markus and Echrome just denied Simplicity any entry into the game. That early game had to be played safe because StreakUp has no options. 1 beads and he's dead. And there's 3 beads burners here.
Yeah, but 1 beads and he kills Markus or Echrome at the same time. He's Ullr with Susano and Terra right next to him. You know what I mean? Like, pro-level teams play against 3v3s that are not as strong as, or stronger rather, than Batz, Cernunnos, Kumbhakarna. It happens, and they can still play aggressive.
I agree overall, but it is the Batz and the Cernunnos is not the toppest of tiers. It is not going to win every tournament, but man, is it difficult to fight into specifics, right? Like if you are trying to invade against other compositions, it might be more difficult or easier. If you're trying to beat other compositions in an all-out 3v3 in the mid lane, it's probably there are better choices. But to deny entry into the jungle, it's very scary, I think.
I think that Simplicity throughout the year has proven to me that they could compete at an SPL level.
I'll feel that. Yep, absolutely.
I can't say that about Horizon Union. They've been here for 9 weeks. You know, this is a new team, and 9 weeks of even very good play is not enough for me to say one way or another.
Same.
We've seen Simplicity over a longer stretch of time. This is not SPL level play. That's where my disappointment really comes.
Do you think? I don't think it's simply the swap of StreakUp and DeathPanter. That could contribute to it. Simplicity getting aggressive on the left side, the rest of the team getting aggressive on the right side.
There's a tier 1, fellas.
Tier 2 will fall down for Simplicity. Nice job there. That's the way you answer back, and that, honestly, is SPL level play. It might not seem it because it's kind of here and there, but the decision-making to go ahead and push that left lane, take out a tier 2, knowing that you can't take a fight 15 foul down, that's the team that we're used to seeing. Unfortunately, now we're at that point. I've been saying a lot recently, MOBAs are math, and we're at that point where the numbers are insurmountable for Simplicity. I am very proud of teams that have the wherewithal to fight 6-7K down. You want to fight 15,000 down? You better have a cheat code. Asti might be that cheat code. Blinking to the back line, getting 2 players surrounded. maniaKK flirts with being aggressive, falls back. Horizon Union here's the Terra ult. Walks away. Love that play. Oh, I love that play.
Certainly one of those ultimates that can turn the tide of a fight. Phoenix still pretty healthy, but so are your carries. Mr. Stefan and Echrome get stunned, but StreakUp gets done by Markus.
Ranzi. Markus on the backside. Overhand smash. Gonna largely hit. There's a double kill for the monkey. Genetics on the run. And Horizon Union will walk past the right side
close.
Phoenix. Couple of shots will take it down. 2 birds in the ground. Titan is next. Titan is next.
Echrome's got ult.
Titan is next.
Good potential for it right here, but they gotta focus.
Here's the attack. Good defense from Simplicity. Faeles is going to be able to get a kill halfway dead. Faeles will be able to get a second kill, but Terrorem shows up. A little bit of a retreat here from the Titan. Just a little bit more damage. Terrorem finds it. And that be the battle. Horizon Union, very, no pun intended here, simply takes care of Simplicity. I mean, that was just dismantlement.
It was really impressive. This team has continued to look better and better every single week, and they really stepped up here in Game 1. I think that Simplicity took a little bit of a risk letting that set through. Terrorem didn't do this super crazy, damage numbers necessarily, but it's so much pressure on that right-hand side. It made sure maniaKK was never comfortable. They played around him very well and got a lot of blue buff invades, and from there, Horizon Union just carried the game.
I think it was a little bit tough in the early game for Simplicity to bust through, but make no bones about it. I'm here with Ryan. That was a dropped game by Simplicity. Congrats to Horizon Union. Let's break it down on the desk.
Big game for Horizon Union up against Simplicity, considered one of the top teams in the minor league just writ large, right there in the same conversation as Armada. But maybe not if they keep dropping games like this. I got Anatoly Astyaniax right here next to me, man. And I don't know, man. I feel like I want to give all this credit to Horizon Union. They played really well around Terrorem, but it wasn't just that. The left side of the map was farming really well, too.
I agree. I think there was a lot of struggles between the solo jungle side of Simplicity. Looking at maniaKK and Faeles, you would expect those two to really step it up from Horizon Union. Yeah. But everyone is kind of looking at why Simplicity is dropping the ball, but let's give credit to Horizon Union's performance today. Not only finding the victory, at least Game 1, but keep in mind, they beat Queso 2 weeks ago. They beat Flashpoint 2-1 just last week. This is a team that you cannot take for granted. And in the Week 5 matchup against Simplicity, Horizon Union did lose that one, but they did at least get one game, and this is a team that's looking like they're going to win a set today. They only lost one death at the 19.5-minute mark until finally giving up about 2 or 3 more at the final Titan push.
Yeah, it was like an aggressive mid lane push to into the Phoenix that finally ended up hurting them on that one. But man, Horizon were in control for most of this game. Simplicity were really struggling to find farm.
It was kind of close up until the Gold Fury was being started. This was a free Gold Fury, no contest whatsoever from Simplicity. But then after the fact, 2 dropped kills immediately where Faeles and maniaKK goes in. Everyone else from Simplicity too far away to assist in the matter. Mr. Stefan gets 2 easy picks from here after this fight. Horizon Union get the Fire Giant, they get the Phoenixes, they get the first game of the set.
It just felt forced, didn't it? I mean, that's an overcommit there, it feels like, onto Echrome, and they get punished for that perfectly. Mr. Stefan waiting right around the corner here on this Merlin pick. And that's another thing to me. This did also feel like some lack of focus and picks and bans from me, I would say, on the side of Simplicity. So that's something I know this team can clean up. That's kind of why we're coming down on them, I think, a bit hard, because we know this team can perform a lot better than what we just saw.
Terra went 5-0-7, part of 12 of his team's 14 kills. That's pretty good in the stat line, but also the fact that the matter was that he got 1 kill and 1 assist very early in the game, shutting down maniaKK and Faeles. There was a consistent 1 to 2 level advantage from both Terra and Markus against their counterparts.
Well, I doubt we'll be seeing the set in Terrem's hand this time around. Simplicity are in that first pick position, which means that if anything of high value makes through, they'll be happy to take it themselves. But that wasn't the only thing. I mean, we had some really strong picks make it all the way down to like the second phase. Like the Muzen comp, I believe, was down there as well. I mean, a lot of high value stuff wasn't really prioritized.
Ullr wasn't even picked or banned in that last game.
That's crazy.
It's just wild to see, especially when you're Horizon Unit, because they had the Hunbats. And you would think Fear No Evil with the Sanctified Field is great team fights, but looks like they didn't need it.
They did not need it in that last game. Morgan, Khepri, and Isis banned out here by Simplicity. Horizon Union banned the Set and the Thoth for the most part. This is fairly standard. Thor still out there, worth considering here at this point. The Muzen comp we mentioned, certainly worth looking at. Geb's been getting valued a lot. Nerlong Shen, a lot of good stuff still.
There definitely has been quite some good stuff. And there's Thor that's available now. There's just too much things to ban currently. But it's surprising though, because they could have banned out the Thor instead of the Amaterasu, but they must be really looking at maniaKK in that solo lane particularly to try to focus out his late game presence in the team fights. And speaking of late game, that last game, it felt as though Simplicity were trying to play towards the late game. They're very slow, patient, methodical, but they were behind the whole game. I don't think their draft really translated to the late game compared to Horizon's.
Well, both of these teams valuing the Terra. I believe it was Genetics that was on this last game, and now it's been taken up by Horizon Union. That will be going over to Astyaniax, I imagine, at this point for them. Another thing to note, I think both teams did the lane swap that game too, where they had their hunters go to the mid lane, the mid players going to the long lane too. We'll see if they do that again here in game number 2.
Yeah, it's important to try to get the best possible matchup for yourself. It was what, the Chronos up against the Ullr, Chronos up against the Merlin. So mage versus mage, hunter versus hunter. Everything was well balanced out there. Different builds as well. I saw that Echrome on the Chronos went for the Ichuvol.
Yeah, I saw that.
That was a little surprising to me because it limits your opponent's attack speed, which is good against the Ullr and the Chronos. But how often are you really hitting those two targets? I would have almost preferred to see like a Poison Star to limit Faeles on the Susano damage.
I agree. I might have helped him there in that spot, but they ended up coming out on top either way, so we can't criticize them too hard. As the Jormungandr comes in for Simplicity, they'll be giving that one over to maniaKK in the solo lane almost for sure, and then Batz coming in for Horizon Union. So that's twice now that Markus has picked this. They're showing a bit of a tendency towards this Batz in the jungle.
Markus has definitely been known for his hunt bats ever since like he's been playing in the past Season 2, Season 3 days of the minor league, and this is a god that you have to respect. A lot of cooldown reduction. He prioritized the Jotun's Wrath in game number 1, as you should when you have such a heavy crowd control god, and that makes it difficult for Simplicity to play around Markus and the Hunbats, knowing that they can't be too clumped up to all get Fear No Evil.
And we talked about this a little bit, you and I, just during that last game, that maybe Horizon Union as a team are coming a bit out of nowhere, but not so much their players. I mean, these are guys that have been around for a while, especially Markus and Mr. Stefan. Those are names that you should know if you've been following the pro scene, but Echrome has been around for a bit now too as well, playing at this level. So now they're finally starting to click. It is surprising, but not too surprising, I would say.
Yeah, I agree with you there. They're definitely taking names. They're not messing around here against some of the more experienced teams, because you definitely remember maniaKK, right? DeathPanter making worlds on several times. So those teams and players are more expected to win on paper, but you can't count out Horizon.
Izanami being picked up here by Simplicity. And this is something I've actually heard a few rumblings about, that Izanami might be a bit strong right now, but we really do not see much of her. Tons of lane pressure, though. Like, the way she's able to push the lane, it's hard to keep up with.
It's all about the push power, you know, and people forget about a Muzen comp, people forget about Izanami. These two gods are going to start seeing more popularity.
I agree, and in terms of tower shred too, she only needs a wave, it feels like, with that first ability stem to start shredding through towers. So let's see if that ends up working. Game number 2 coming at you.
Hey, Aggro.
Hey, what's up, man?
So usually when I do poorly in a game, you know what I do?
What's that, man?
Pick Izanami.
And then you do poorly that game, too?
Yes. For Horizon Union, going up against Simplicity, they really brought it out in game number 1. I think that their composition kind of stunted Simplicity, and then by the time Simplicity had their hands on the wheel, it was just a little bit too late. On a serious note, addressing this Izanami, as Markus gets some bodyguards. I like that play. That was really cute from Horizon Union. We're going to be talking about this Izzy for a little bit. What's your take?
I always think, how is this character bad?
Izzy?
Because she has so much going for her. The best attack speed sim in the game, probably, in her 1. Her 2 is really, really strong as a hunter ability. It's a little bit of CC. It stacks up. It's bad right now. You need to get those assists. And it's a weird condition to hit. The only one like it in the game, really. And I think that does hurt her already very potent early game, and that's probably intentional.
Sure.
The 3 is not as bad as it used to be. I'd encourage people, if you haven't played Izanami in a long time, try it, because it's better than you think it is. Still not great, but it's thought of, I think, it should be thought of less as an escape and more like a Morrigan stealth.
Sure.
How Morrigan uses it to reposition the fight, pop up, and explode someone. It's just that hunters don't really do that right now. I mean, if you want to build the crit and really go for it, you can. Asty's in a lot of trouble here. Slowed. Ooh. Shell is solid, but fails a speed buff. I don't think there's any way Asty gets away from this. DeathPanter will secure it indeed with that first blood. And the ultimate is super strong against King Arthur. I mean, silences really mess him up. Really good against characters that can't really get away from it. I love it in conjunction with a Xing Chen. Both the 2 and Xing Chen's ultimate will set up for that really easily. I don't hate it as much as I think a lot of people would, but I don't know. I mean, you get crushed so hard in game 1, you got to try something new. I'm kind of talking myself into it.
I presented that in a deceptive manner. I love Izanami right now. I think her push is incredible. The amount of pressure that she provides in lane, obviously right now on the back foot, as hilarious that is almost unmatched. You heard Anatoly kind of comparing her to Echrome's AMC selection, and I think that's right on the money. 2 and 3 basics clear the entire wave at level 1. Here at level 3, it should be a little bit different. The early kill potential is a little bit rough. As you said, the slow is 18% and then stacks on conditionally. So we'll see that kind of come to fruition. But another mid-game character. We've seen on her devastate players. We've seen Medusa do pretty well. I think Izanami is this late mid-game, late-game character and can make an impact when those other characters do so, but also continue into the later stages. Simplicity last time had trouble doing stuff. Izanami will do stuff here, as long as StreakUp plays it.
It's a pick that throws you off balance a little bit, but certainly does have some merit, I think is where I would ultimately land on it.
I like that.
It's got great early game, as you've already highlighted. The ability as well to scale really well into the late game, because the 1 is just absurd. A 75% attack speed still.
It is
when it's maxed.
I mean, it's absurd. And the bonus damage on top of it, because don't forget, the boomerang aspect is turned off when Sickle Storm is on. So you're getting regular old basic attacks, except 75% more and bonus damage on top of it.
Plus, I mean, her 2 scales at 90%. That's insane. And her ult scales at 100%. Her scaling is bonkers.
Very high for a hunter.
Very, very high for a hunter. No doubt about that. And StreakUp's looking like he's going to go the Transcendence build. I think this makes a ton of sense. She lacks that CC and the ability. She lacks the CC that On Her has that makes him so popular in the mid lane. She also lacks the ability to follow up from a distance with a ton of safety, I think. That's the big difference maker. But still has a lot of similarities in the ability to turn and burn very well. She transitions better than On Her does into the late game, no doubt. And you can afford to build a lot of power without a lot of attack speed because of that number 1.
don't forget, new itemization online. Heartseeker is going to be ridiculous on this character as well because of the fact that number 2 scales at 90%. You're only really getting it off of the 1 ability, sure. The ultimate, fine, but it's an ult. You're only really getting it off of your number 2, since your 1 and your 3 are stims and invisibility respectively. But that's still going to hurt an obscene amount if we see that in the late game. Heartseeker is very close to my mind at the moment. A lot of different characters are going to be looking to use that into the late game and extend their game or make their already potent late game strong. Another thing here that I want to touch on is Izanami before we move on. That stim that we're talking about, Sickle Storm, the extra damage also is provided to the towers. This is a character like Soul where if you look the other way for a second, you've lost your lane, and that's absolutely something StreakUp can do.
I would love to see StreakUp go for a build that is really, really power-oriented. Don't worry too much about attack speed.
Same.
Transcendence. Still, I would still go Crusher because it's just every stat you want, attack speed included. And then probably just go outright Bloodforge.
Bloodforge?
I'm going Bloodforge, yeah. 70 power. Give me some of that lifesteal. Your ability to stand and fight gets a lot better because if you get that kill, you get the blood shield. You forge a shield out of the blood of your enemies is what you actually do.
That's dark.
Yeah, that's Bloodforge for you.
That's dark.
And you can do all that for only like a little over 2,500 gold.
That's not bad.
2,800.
It's
kind of metal.
Yeah, that's pretty metal, I'd say.
Also, synergizes really well with Izanami's passive. That's why you see Asi on her sometimes. She gets more pen as she gets lower in HP.
It really is just Bancroft pen, right?
Yeah, it's Bancroft pen. You get that with an Asi or something like that, you end up just obliterating tanks and getting your health back up in huge chunks.
Taking a look at Horizon Union's draft across the way, Terrorem and Asti absolutely will be those tanks if StreakUp wants to target them. But Markus, Echrome, and Mr. Stefan. Markus again on the Hun Batz. The draft did not take it away from him. Markus played very well, but I don't think it was one of those matches where you go, oh man, gotta ban this out. Ultimate from Genetics tosses Echrome towards StreakUp. There's a Sickle Storm, and boy, is that the damage. DeathPanter rotates, Echrome goes down, 2 kills for Simplicity, both of them on the Merlin carry.
Perfect initiation by Genetics. I don't know what caught Echrome's beads earlier on. I didn't notice it, but certainly Simplicity did because they had the timer. Still bore down for about 30 seconds when that engagement started, and that's an easy kill off that setup.
It was an easy walk-in for Genetics. He walked in, pancake flipped. A little bit of root is something you've got to beat as an AMC.
Yep.
AMC has no wiggle ability. And so because of that, the beads go early and often. Genetics walks in a second time and goes, hey, forget the root. I'm tossing you all the way back. They're able to grab 2 off of it. You saw that burst from StreakUp as well. That's what we're talking about. Very dangerous. DeathPanter able to come by and pick up the kills. Minor conversation. Is it better for DeathPanter to have those, or is it better for StreakUp to have those?
Probably StreakUp. I want him pushing leads in the Izanami a little bit better, but it's not. It's you know.
Like I said, minor.
Very, very, very minor. It's not a big deal whatsoever. StreakUp might be able, or DeathPanter rather, might be able to push leads on this Merlin a little bit better, invade a couple purples over Mr. Stefan. We'll see if that comes to fruition or not.
Another Izanami bonus. Clearing wards easier. The boomerangs are so interesting. What an interesting piece of technology here for a carry player for sure. He'll be able to farm up with the jungle. Horizon unit around the Gold Fury. They're the only ones with vision on top of it. Simplicity, I like their wards almost better though. They are able to see where Horizon unit are walking around the objective, whether it's 2-lane or the Gold Fury itself.
Plenty of objective burn damage here from Simplicity, and
a ton.
With this, with the Merlin long lane, Hunter mid lane setup, historically there's been problems with objective secure because usually Hunters don't have it, and Merlin certainly does not. He burns objectives very well, but does not secure them well at all. Izanami does. The Dark Portal is great secure for a Hunter. You can overlap it with your 2, you drop the ult, you immediately 2. They'll hit right around the same time, and you can burst from a healthy number, and usually a weakness of this style of composition ends up going away with this Izanami selection. So I think that it works really well in conjunction with the Merlin.
You had Faeles in the jungle on a character that can land from the sky, both getting vision and confirmation or zoning. I like the comp as well with respects to objective secure. So Simplicity, they have the tools. I need to see Simplicity much differently from game number 2. Be active early. That's what I want to see. I want to see Simplicity look for these Gold Furies, maybe even without an invitation. You want to start at 5v5, stop to kill the opponent when they show up. I'm here for it. Mr. Stefan stunned out. There's the ultimate. Simplicity less willing to fight that.
Trading Rewind for Genetics Blink seems plenty worth it for me. Genetics is playing much more aggressively this game. He's
Good.
all in Horizon Union's face, and this is what Genetics usually does and where he's playing at his best. Red buff invades have been going well so far. I like what Simplicity is putting on the table.
I can't help but notice. Sorry to be that guy. Echrome has a lot less control on this pick than he had with the Goat Man.
Well, it's also AMC just took a massive nerf, don't forget. I mean, not proccing the bees for Mage's Blessing anymore.
Break that down, because I think that's something that left a lot of casual players in the question mark field.
So a big reason why we saw AMC be able to outclear everybody is it looks like this Gold Fury is gone.
Yeah,
and
everything.
This is what we're talking about when it comes down to this objective burn. Izanami, Merlin, see you later. No chance you get there in time. But AMC, he loses the ability. Mage's Blessing procs off of damaging abilities all the time.
Right.
Whether there's no internal cooldown, doesn't matter if it's gods or minions, it applies and helps out a lot of characters clear. AMC abused it more than just about anybody because his passive will also proc it. So anytime you swarm, that would double proc Mage's Blessing. If you honeyed, it would double proc Mage's Blessing. Now, it wouldn't... I don't think if you swarmed and honeyed, I don't think you would get 4 Mage's Blessing procs. I'm pretty sure you would still just get 3.
Yeah.
You would need a new application of bees in order to get another Mage's Blessing proc. But either way, it just contributed so much. And it wasn't just that. A Stinger nerf as well that took some base damage and some scaling off of it. That was the big thing, is that not only could he outclear you, but he could one-shot you if you got too close to him.
Right.
I think those two nerfs in conjunction with one another are enough to take him out of first pick potential. I do think we'll still see him, which goes to show you just how nuts those things were for him if he's still being viable without having those two really, really strong things in his kit. But he definitely won't be top pick, top band.
Genetics gets crowd controlled by Markus. Jumps away for the moment. Has a second jump. Markus not willing to fight for it. Faeles waiting there. Markus kind of saw that. So an ultimate for nothing. Genetics in the red, but goes back on his own terms. A nice play there. I don't mind Horizon Union going for that. I wish there was a little bit more follow-up, but those are the type of engagements that, again, fighting down 2,000-3,000, not an issue as long as you have that sort of audacity, that arrogance like we were talking about. You got to be able to make those plays for sure.
Pyromancer, again, destroyed.
Izanami the #1 objective burning hunter? Because she's, I think I give her the #1 tower.
She's definitely one of the best, if not the top end for sure.
Mr. Stefan on the run, beads away the stun, but StreakUp goes down. Genetics versus the world, and Horizon Union are denied the red buff invade, but take care of the player with the red buff. So, you know.
Soul is really good.
Not a hunter. I'm there.
Not a hunter. Close enough.
Tower dive here in the mid lane, and DeathPanter half HP. Faeles shows up and provides the triage. Nice job. Chased out of the backside. Meanwhile, front side, everybody in Horizon Union a little bit low. Faeles, a man without a nation. Oh, bad positioning, but he sneaks out on the left-hand side.
Off the mark with that ultimate, needed to land that if he wanted to find the kill on the Echrome, who hasn't back to base and hasn't hit level 12 to get Aegis yet, and didn't have any purification beads. That should have been a kill.
But Batz, ultimate comes up one more time. StreakUp turns around, silences the overhand smash, and silences the monkey overall. Faeles gets another one. It's 2 for simplicity. Stefan's ultimate comes out under the tower. Everybody be waiting. Aegis is done, and Faeles picks up another one. 2-0-2 for Danny Phantom.
I mean, that was all StreakUp though, man. I mean, his comeback from that respawn immediately kills Markus, who was trying to punish DeathPanter for not having purification beads.
Look at that, man.
He's doing a lot right now on this Izanami selection. It's working, no doubt.
I love the choice. This is a conversation that Tolly and I have had a couple of times. to be fair to Tully, led by Tully. Bringing up that Izanami is still able to kind of do it, and he's also agreeing. The clear is there, what's been going on. The silence is more effective against characters with long animations like Muzen and Batz. That is a total side note. It's the pressure and the push potential. You pair that up with a Merlin, and objectives are on the map for less than 5 seconds, even in the early game. Simplicity, and I think this is paramount to this matchup. Horizon Union beat Simplicity off of like these jungle fights, these weird things. Simplicity kind of just go back to the drawing board. Hey, what are we good at? Objective secure. Let's pick a composition built for that. We'll be better at SMITE than them. We'll be better at objectives than them. And that will be where we find our lead. Forget this whole fighting into the jungle and Echrome nonsense. Give me something that kills a Gold Fury real quick. And now you're up 6,000 in 15 minutes. Simplicity not only identify what went wrong in game number 1, but identify what has gone right the rest of the season. And I love to see that. I think that adaptation is what makes them a top-tier team.
Agreed. They're playing very well now. This is the Simplicity that I was expecting coming into this set. The ability to just have little windows like that, like we just saw, where they punish Mr. Stefan. They know he's got no ultimate and no relics at all. So let's just sit between tier 1 and tier 2. We already got some farm. We already stripped away their purple. It's not going to cost us a whole lot to stand here for another 5 seconds and get another kill onto this Chronos.
Oh, no. Everything burned there from Simplicity. That, I remember that. Pon was on the team where they blew all of the ultimates before Fire Giant spawned. They tried to rush it down in 10 minutes.
Why you got to do my man Pon like that?
Simplicity take the Gold Fury and another hail of arrows, just 3 to 4 seconds on the clock. See you later, buddy. Horizon Union can't walk there fast enough. If the entire team bought Talaria boots and sprints, they probably still couldn't get there fast enough.
Too much damage. I mean, Crusher's done for StreakUp. Spear the Mega's done for DeathPanter. I mean, those are huge power spike items that allow them to burn these objectives even better. And it's not going to get a whole lot easier for Horizon Union when it comes to that. So you got to try and take fights before they start the objective, or be there lying in the wings and wait for them to pull it without knowing that you are there. Markus's Fear No Evil is still going to provide quite a bit in these team fights. Certainly can swing the tide.
You got to get there.
Of this game, but it's not looking good. Simplicity's in a great spot.
Faeles goes up. Left hand side. It's going to be a nice play. The stun going to be immune. Mr. Stefan still here, taking the one-on-one. The backside, Faeles narrowly escapes. So with that in mind, Simplicity will continue walking forward. The Izanami pick has been working out largely. I like this move in the mid lane. Genetics has been playing a lot better. You know, and I think that's that's also a large conversation. I'm gonna ask you to wear your player hat here in a bit, Ryan. When it comes down to it, you know, one small victory can just shake it back into you. And I think that Simplicity's couple of early game leads has gone, guys, we are Simplicity. Wake up.
Absolutely. This is a team that deserves to have a whole lot of confidence and still provides quite a bit when it comes to their high-level play as they get another objective, courtesy of this Pyromancer. And it's really centered around the mid 3v3 again. I mean, StreakUp, this move for him into this mid lane, he's playing well. Faeles is under a lot less pressure in the early stages and is able to actually play the game this time and get some farm. And Genetics is playing like we've seen Genetics play all year. He's been a part of every single kill so far for Simplicity, has been all over the map, ranging everywhere, and right now he's looking for Mr. Stefan.
Stefan thrown in the wall. No rewind available. It'll be up soon, but not soon enough. And if you ask me in game number 1, right, if we're playing with streamer mode on, I don't know it's Simplicity. I just have no idea.
Well, that's because it's, you know, Terra 4.
Right, but if you hide the names here, I can tell you it's Simplicity.
I'm messing with you. Yes, I completely...
Stop messing with me, aggro!
Yeah, my bad. I'm definitely the only one that has ever done that on a cast to their co-caster.
Nobody messes with me ever.
For sure. I'm sorry to hear that.
Are you messing with me?
I'm done now.
Are you? Is that a mess with me?
So anyways, we're going back to the game, 19 minutes in.
That's my job.
Yeah, but I feel like doing it, so here I go. About a 10K lead for Simplicity, and now they decide they want Fire Giant.
What about the kills, though? You kept kills.
Oh, 7-1 for Simplicity.
Nice zoning coming out from maniaK. Damage out of the Fire Giant. Terrorem is here, could steal, walks in the middle, and instead, Simplicity are able to confirm. Nice job. DeathPanter. His last hit on that one. A solo laner that doesn't get talked about is usually doing their job very, very well. A lot of times, the zoning will be front and center, right? Oh, we're watching King Arthur push 3 players out. But maniaK has been quietly making sure that nobody from Horizon Union is anywhere close to the objectives.
Mr. Stefan has to rewind just because that spectral projection from StreakUp did so much damage to him. DeathPanter seals his fate with help from Faeles. That Fire Giant secure. Izanami does that better than any other hunter you're going to put in the mid lane. That certainly comes into play. Not saying that Terrorem definitely would have gotten it if that's an on her for StreakUp, but he would have had better odds.
Backside, maniaK fails, chasing players off. Tier 2 cap. Down it goes. No problem. Now Simplicity have the type of lead that Horizon Union had in game number 1. You got to slip to fall off this mountain. 13 foul. Focusing on the right-hand side. I think I'm going to eat this tower. While we got some time, I'm going to ask you to break down some of the mechanics here. With the boomerang aspect, right? You're doing less damage each time. How does critical strike work with respect to Izanami?
Well, it's percentage damage on each end. I believe it's 75-25. DeathPanter's in trouble. Still has relics and is toasting Markus, but now out of buttons. Still gonna need just 1 or 2 more auto attacks to get it done. Markus gonna give it up, and this is where being level 20 feels real good, by the way, because level 16 junglers
Blink
just have to run away. Blink is up for genetics, but in combat because of those bees. Yeah, the critical strike chance, or the chance is the same. The damage itself is just based on the percentage of where you hit it. So you do get 2 chances, I believe, at getting that critical strike. But you only get whatever the percentage is of the auto attack damage. Oftentimes, crit is kind of weird on Izanami because it's not great when it comes to her boomerang aspect, but it's phenomenal when you get that 75% attack speed from the Spectral Blade. So you can build it. I don't think it's terrible. I think that going pure power often is a little bit better. I like the StreakUp build. Still think a Bloodforge a little bit better than Asi, but I also highlighted why Asi can be very solid with a passive. So you end up getting one benefit one way or the other.
Asi's also just, I want to say a feel thing. There is a very, when you see that Asi kind of aura take over you, you just walk forward. You're like, what? Somebody come at me, please. Somebody fight me. And then you heal up real quick with some shots. It is a nice look here. As far as if, likely to be an executioner, but if it is a Chinsai, on hit effects for Izanami only work going out. So you won't get 2 Chinsai procs for each boomerang. You'll get 1 Chinsai proc as it goes out, and when it comes back, it'll just deal regular damage, not the bonus on hit effect. Same thing with other on hit effects with Izanami. A very interesting character that we really don't get to talk about, so we are going to go into the ins and outs of this god. Very strange character, not just for SMITE, but MOBAs in general. Boomerang aspect on an ADC, very creative, and certainly is why we were talking about that early game push, early game pressure. That's where it comes into play. Basic attacks go through minions. Obviously, that's going to clear the way very, very efficiently. So Simplicity have kind of ridden that StreakUp's success. Faeles has been very strong as well, albeit similar to maniaK, just quietly getting the job done, not really taking the spotlight, which is, for those positions, honestly, kind of odd. You expect them to be front and center. But if they're doing your job and nobody hears about it, that just lets the carries. We talk about this idea of space for the backline. Simplicity's backline have had the whole map, it feels like, and Faeles and maniaK are spawn trapping them like it's Halo 3.
It's been easy, for sure. When you have that much space to work with, it as a carry player, it feels really good because you just get to hit the frontliners, kill them with ease because they don't have the levels to contest you, they don't have the items to contest you, and then you just end up kind of running away with it from there as Mr. Stefan can't decide where to go.
Faeles, that was bad. Mr. Stefan looks up, sees a Thor, looks down, sees Izanami, goes back and forth, kind of waffles a little bit. Faeles with the big man slam. That's a shifters, void shield. That's a power build.
How?
Thor also one of the characters that doesn't have an attack chain. He's just smacking you 100% each time.
Man, I'm really surprised that killed him. Really good pre-beats from Faeles. The wall not good, as you highlighted, but the pre-beats to make sure that he got his whole spin off and didn't get interrupted was very nice for sure. 245 power just from the items. 332 basic attack power. That's a lot.
Again, Thor and Genetics zoning players in their spawn point while the Fire Giant goes down in exactly 25 minutes. Enhanced Fire Giant will spawn in exactly 4:48. Simplicity looking up the right-hand side. Echrome backing up to base. We should have a 5-on-5 here, Ryan. And as I said before, this is the type of mountain you got to slip off of. Simplicity bringing us to a game 3 if all goes their direction.
I mean, Genetics is level 18. He's only a level down from anybody on the enemy side. He's 4 levels up on Asti right now. He can tank forever. maniaKK doing quite a bit of zoning on the back end of this Phoenix, and it's not going to take long for StreakUp to knock it down.
Down goes the bird, nice and easy. maniaKK joins the rest of the squad. Gotta steal the speed buff. #1 priority.
That's right.
Markus is here. That's scary. To be honest with you, that level 19 Batz is scary. Got the Blood Forge. Nice look there for the jungler.
Also just that Faeles and doesn't have beads, neither does DeathPanter. DeathPanter also doesn't have Aegis. You've already gotten what you want. You've got some gold in hand. You can finish off some key items and get back to this team fight. No reason to throw away the game and lose a lot of pressure by getting 3 for nothing that at the enemy speed that you don't really need. Maybe if it was old speed buff that really made you zoom, it might be worth it.
We talked about the difference between confidence and arrogance. Going for that speed buff is the difference.
Yeah, I mean, they probably could have gotten away.
You go for that speed buff, Ryan?
100%. My man can't walk in there. That's my speed buff now.
I go for that speed buff as well. Oni Fury, a wonderful look. If Simplicity had their choice of the Furies, Oni would be it. So we'll have a lane of. Have we named those minions yet? Are they? We're not. I'm not going to call them like. They can't be fire minions. I don't like super minions. Are they motivated minions?
No.
Motivated minions. Oh,
I understand the reference, but
motivated minions. They're just real motivated.
No, I don't. That makes me feel weird when you say it like that. I don't like
motivated minions.
Yeah, didn't feel any better that time.
Simplicity. Motivated on the left-hand side.
Please stop.
They're motoring in.
Okay. I guess that's technically different.
They've got the most gold in this game. Front side, Genetics going to meet Asti and StreakUp. That silence, he's gone. 4-on-5, 3-on-5. Faeles, finds Stefan to the back line. Terrorem trying to do it to him. But even with all that, King Arthur had to go down. StreakUp 4, 1, and 5 on the Izanami. A baker's dozen in kills for Simplicity. 2 players alive. The right side bird already down. Waiting for the minions. Simplicity walking into the left side. Phoenix now chasing down the carries. Markus, we knew you well.
Easy win for Simplicity. Their 3v3 played so much better. Genetics looked like his old self. maniaKK had a great game. Faeles was actually able to make an impact on this one where they really wasn't in game 1. This is the Simplicity that I was hoping for. And I was hoping for a very close set. We haven't gotten it yet. In score it is, but certainly not in gameplay. 2 blowouts either side. This happens from time to time. I'd expect a fairly close one here in game 3 where teams are probably going to play it pretty slow, understanding the stakes of what is in front of them.
We spent a lot of time talking about the Izanami. I want your take. Is this cheese? Is this a one-game strategy, or is this something that is real and can exist?
No, it's real and can exist. You put hunters in the mid lane. You want something with pressure. Izanami provides that. Her team fight is solid, and she's got good objectives secure. Seems good to me.
Tied up at 1. We'll be back with the rubber match.
INAP, powering the control room for the SMITE Minor League.
a snap back to reality here for Simplicity as they have a dominant Game 2. It really feels like we're seeing those guys play the way that we expected to back in Game 1. Anatoly Alexeyenok still right here next to me. And Totally, what did you see as kind of like, I guess, the big difference, or what went right here for Simplicity in this game as opposed to Game 1?
Their impact in the early game is what the difference was. Game 1, it fails on the Susano versus Game 2 fails on the Thor.
Yes.
Big difference, like night and day almost. The Thor passive allows him to like get extra physical power just to be near you, right?
Yes.
So utilizing that, they invaded red and then just did not let go of the gas since then.
I almost hope they let Amaterasu through and Simplicity pops off with it, just so that I can see it, right? Because
Yes.
that's what we're banning, so that Thor it is now allowed to come through.
2 games in a row as Faeles was able to utilize this global pressure, and even the poke from a distance was just super safe. Faeles setting up Mr. Stefan as well, or sorry, StreakUp in the mid lane, playing the Izanami, by the way.
That's right, yeah. This Izanami, you heard them talking a little bit about it during the cast and how some of her build paths work, but I think StreakUp was able to find a really good spot for her and make this Izanami work. I mean, maybe there's more room for her in the meta.
Just look at this damage right here.
Mr. Stefan's like, what
Pop!
am I? Oh my goodness.
That was
Is that
a
Hydra's? What is that?
basic attack.
That's a lot. That's meaty. It's Mjolnir, I guess, so, it's supposed to swing when it comes in here for you. That's Thor's hammer and all, but Simplicity's certainly getting back to basics, and now both games have been this early game control where the other team really wasn't able to maintain control of their farm, and they kind of ran over the opposition. I imagine in Game 3 we'll be seeing both teams try and draft for that early game so it doesn't happen again.
I could see that being the case. I think it's a lot of pressure now onto Markus to maybe draft something besides the Hun Batz. As good as the late game team fights are with the Fear No Evil, it's hard to stack up to the Thor before you hit the level 5 marker.
And Terra has been valued in both of these sets between these two teams. We saw it played by Genetics, and then we saw it played by Asta, and it hasn't worked for either of them. So I don't know who's going to play Terra this time, but that'll probably be the loser if anything is to go on with 2 sample size or anything like that. So, no, that's obviously a joke. Thor and the Morrigan here, banned away as we move in. Horizon Union saying they are not losing to that again.
I was surprised that they don't leave the Thor open for themselves,
Right.
but I think they have a different game plan going into this one. Maybe going for the Muzen Cobb middle. That was something that isn't really prioritized by either of these two teams.
Yeah, I've been a bit surprised. I think it was 10th picked last game, right?
Yeah.
Way near the end of the draft. So there's been a lot of valuable stuff that's gone by. But I think you kind of made that point at the end of the last game, was that there's just so much good stuff right now. I think we really have gotten to the point in terms of just the game's overall balance where you can play so many things that it can be difficult to always make sure everything gets prioritized.
You're not going to see that Amaterasu Finch, unfortunately.
No!
3 games in a row.
I need to see the evidence. I need to see the proof.
It's good late game. I just don't know if that's a maniac pick as
Right.
of recent. He likes to play aggressive. He likes the gods that can really dive in the backline. The Jormungandr last game was able to do so. But when you're leaving open the set in game number 1 and then banning it away, you kind of forget about another strong pick.
And I think this Amaterasu ban is way stronger as the first pick, by the way, because they did it second pick last time too. And because their first pick here, it does mean they get something like an Isis here first picked. And her objective control, her 3v3 fight, they're both so strong.
And the changes to her silence, rather, giving a shield to allies as opposed to magical protections is a great added change. So much crowd control between the stun on top of it. Hard to really dive into her, but Hun Batz might be able to get in there, force an early beats.
That's right. She'll have to be very careful with those. We've seen some times where Isis, if they can predict the CC, they won't even try and prevent them. They'll just drop down that circle of protection and then try their best to fight in it, so that might even be a bit of a call as well. Back to this Terra again. It has yet to pan out for either one of these teams, but I mean, I agree. Terra's very, very good. You want her on your team.
Smart Osiris pickup. I was about to mention that there needs to be anti-healing for Simplicity to answer the Terra and the Isis. Osiris with the Lord of the Afterlife, 100% anti-healing would have been a great pick for Simplicity, especially fitting and catering towards the playstyle of maniaKK, to be aggressive in that early laning phase, to transition as that big bully in the late game. But now, Horizon Union not even going to give maniaKK that chance.
It works on both directions because you take a strong pick away and you give Terror a really strong bully like this Osiris. He could potentially box out maniaKK in lane or just be a backline nightmare too. He should be able to have a pretty good game with this pick. Over to the side of Simplicity, the Xing Chen comes through and he's finally starting to become a bit more flavor, it feels like.
We saw the last game, Genetics having a good game in performance. I like the control it brings, the Furious Roar as well, mitigating a lot of attack damage is another identity that he brings to the table, where there's so many Chronoses plus insert Hunter here. That Xing Chen is very powerful, but against only one Hunter from Horizon, seeing how they have Isis, not as impactful as it could be, but still, the flip into the root, the Whirlwind of Raging Steel to just displace you at a given moment's notice. That with Hun Batz is like somebody's going to force beats first time around, and then round 2 is what you're looking for from Xing.
I'm surprised that Horizon Union don't ban the Chronos here in the spot, but they have the absolute correct read that it was a physical hunter that Simplicity wanted instead. The Hou-Yi lets you get some AoE, obviously has plenty of box potential early on. I've never been a huge fan of Hou-Yi's clear, but he should be fine in the middle lane with some help, and he can push, no problem.
Just a lot of control, whether it's CCs or even damage, like Hou-Yi dropping the Suns. It's not like your Fear No Evil to displace the Xing to also move you around, but the slows.
It's egregious.
It's like a little glue that you're walking on.
Naja comes through for Horizon Union to add even more control tools along with that Terra. A pretty strong draft here from Horizon Union. They're relevant at multiple stages of the game, especially around objectives. But a Muzen Cobb and Hou-Yi together, that's so much push power from these two hunters. But are they going to be lacking on AoE mage?
It's not only are they lacking that aspect, they're lacking the early 2-on-2 and mid-jungle synergy. Like Naja Isis versus the Hun Batz and what I'm guessing is a Muzen Cobb. I just don't see Hun Batz doing much early.
I don't think so either. I'm right there with you. Can Simplicity hold on to make the comp work, or will Horizon Union run him over early?
Well, that's a question I'm not going to answer. I will show you the answer after the teams answer us. Don't worry, folks. I'll be here today and tomorrow. My name's Tom Battinger, joined here by Ryan Agro Bailey. And, of course, the best observation in the SMITE business. It's Doug LeBlanc on the camera. So we're getting down to a Game 3, some bonus SMITE here. If you're just joining us, Horizon Union beat the pants off of Simplicity game number 1. And Simplicity turned around and beat the pants off of HU in game number 2. So here we are. This one should be a meeting of the minds.
Should be, but at the same time, Horizon Union gets another priority pick. Game 1, they got Set first overall. Now they've got Isis first overall, and Simplicity clearly very scared of giving someone on Simplicity the Morrigan. That's been the ban that's kind of taken up the slot usually reserved for Set or Isis. Simplicity's been forced to give them up by their standards. Terrorem certainly made them pay with that Set pick in Game 1. We'll see if Mr. Stefan can do the same here with Isis in Game 2.
That said, Simplicity do two things. Or there are two variables in this game that I think are positives for Simplicity. Wrestling with my headset. Bear with me, folks. The Faeles pick of the Hun Batz. One, Faeles is no Hun Batz slouch himself. This is a character that he largely kind of rose to prominence on. He's got some other choices as well, but the Hun Batz, I think, is safest. Markus surrounded. StreakUp unceremoniously grabs a first blood. That said, Horizon Union might be able to capitalize off of it, and this will be the bigger play here, Ryan. Asti separates Genetics from the team, puts him down. Now Echrome getting aggressed on by Faeles, but this is going to go the other way as well. Asti with another kill for Horizon Union. Echrome hit it. Echrome hit it.
Yeah.
He hits it. Asti tanks the tower. 3 for 1, baby. Horizon Union looking cute, feeling cute.
That was sick from Asti, man. I mean, the body blocks are perfect. The way that he placed the monolith. That shell was flawless timing. Took away all the burst from StreakUp's 2-3 combo, which, by the way, with the nerf that just happened, probably did contribute to Echrome living.
Yep.
Solid, man. And you heard Anatoly and Finch on the desk saying that they were a little worried about this 3v3 in mid. Hun Batz definitely a little bit slower to get off the ground. Even with Markus being on the receiving end rather of that first blood. Simplicity end up getting 3 for 1 on those mid harpies and to lose a bunch of beads as well. Both Faeles and StreakUp used them to no avail.
I love what you said. It's all Asti. That is 100%. You want to talk about highlight reels not featuring supports enough? There it is, folks. Body blocks, everything you could ask for out of your support player. Hilariously enough, I was just about to talk about why I think Simplicity has the upper hand here. And one play a game does not make. Teams are separated by 700 gold, give or take. So with that in mind, Simplicity fails on the Hun Batz. After level 5, we'll talk about Hun Batz for sure. But I think Faeles taking this away from Markus is a big deal. Not only are you taking it away, but sometimes teams in the process of taking one away kind of deal themselves a bad card. Faeles absolutely can pilot it. And the Isis, in the long lane. This is where she belongs, quote unquote, right? This is where mages go.
Yep.
But I like the early game prowess of Isis, and I love the amount of tools that she has. I think Isis impacts a 3v3 significantly more. And if there's a mage to put in the middle lane like it's last year, I think it might be Isis.
I was on that train as well.
Yeah?
Even pretty recently. But man, Isis is just so good. And she can 2v1 with the way her kit is right now. And it makes it so much easier. You can't 2v1 if you are the same level as an enemy jungler. If you're 2 levels up, you can easily 2v1 the opposition. It is worth your while to put her in the long lane, I think.
Isn't that like a ranked mentality, a less than top end mentality?
No, because a lot of times you are dealing with 2 members on top of you in a team fight at a high level. It's the solo laner and the jungler who are diving you. Isis can turn those fights better than just about anybody. Maybe Zhonghui, but that's why Zhonghui is like permanent, right? It's those 2 characters that do very well.
I believe Isis is better
in that scenario. And Isis, I do think, is better. Her objective secure is just nuts. Yep. You get to play around her. It's the same thing as, like, you know, could Kobe play off ball a whole lot? Sure.
Yeah.
He could, but why would you make it? You know, like, just give him the ball. Just give Isis all the farm. Could she operate well without it? Yeah, probably. But why? Just give her all the farm. If she is the best character in the game right now, and I think it's really just between her and Set.
I agree.
Then give those 2 characters all the farm. And that's why you see those 2 characters get put in places where they get all the farm.
Simplicity, you're going to have to deal with Stefan once he rotates. For now, though, the beast will be chained to the wall. And so it's up to Simplicity to kind of succeed despite that fact, I think, and then just brace for the storm. Because this very much a conversation. I would like to see her in the mid because she has a whole bunch of tools, but the other side, everything you said is not a lie. And when she comes in, 4 levels your senior, Spirit Ball's your support, Silence is your secondary support, beats you with Wing Gust, and still hasn't used an ultimate yet. Things feel bad. Markus gets his beats chased out here by Faeles. Genetics is here. DeathPanter has shown up as well. As soon as this character lands, we'll see a pop and a jump over the wall from Faeles. Nice movement there. Here comes the rest of Horizon Union. Markus, the first to fall.
But Genetics falls right afterwards, Mr. Stefan. A little bit too late on that Spirit Ball combo to kill Faeles. Should have been a really nice play by Markus. Kind of gets let down a little bit as Mr. Stefan.
Oh!
No! Oh man, that is brutal. DeathPanter, perfect calculation, of course.
And that's where it makes sense. If you're going to put DeathPanter on a Hou Yi and you make this switch, there is so much less conversation than there was in game number 1 or 2 where we were dissecting the StreakUp DeathPanter swap around. DeathPanter not only is a Hunter player, tried and true, he's a Hou Yi main. He knows those angles.
Yep.
This is the conversation. Like I said, I like it when the lane swap, the position swap is an option for teams. If Simplicity brought the lane swap out with this, I'd go, oh, I understand why. I like it. Here we go. You're going to get plays like that. And so because of that, DeathPanter, I'll be honest, no part of me is surprised if that happens. That's what he does.
Yeah, that's the Mr. Stefan, like, oh man, I think I'm dead. Oh, I'm definitely dead here. Ricochet just did 750 damage to me, by the way. Yeah. I mean, that is well played by DeathPanter.
Should we make Ricochet, like, wider?
No, I don't think so. I really don't.
Me neither.
No, I think that's an idea that doesn't need to happen, for sure. I do think it should do a little bit more damage, because I don't think that Hunter abilities should not...
What's up?
I don't think Hunter ability should not clear archers when it's maxed. That's my belief.
Jokes aside, I will agree. Obviously, the double triple bounce that we just saw is in a world of itself. But I'll agree with that. Stefan being chased by 2. We'll see if that 2v1's in the cards. A poorly placed ultimate. Because of that, Genetics tosses him out of it, and down goes Isis.
No matter, I don't think there's anywhere that Mr. Stefan can place that ultimate to end up living in that situation. Maybe if he drops it way in front of him so that Genetics, if he throws him towards DeathPanter, which is obviously going to do,
yep.
You're throwing him into circle of protection, but even then...
I think that's the play. Maybe he dies too.
The CC chain is just too good. Without beads, you are too vulnerable against Xing Chen.
Harpy's here. Like the move by Markus. Backside though, Faeles shows up in a beautiful play by Markus. Holy, that is a hot play The teammate will fall for it, but Markus completely negates the Hun Batz ultimate. That was cute stuff on the Naja.
And got the beads out from Faeles simultaneously. Unfortunately, it doesn't do a whole lot to help Asti, who was isolated by that Fear No Evil either way. So just good placement by Faeles.
Such is life for the support.
Done. But yeah, I mean, it's only the support. I mean, whatever.
Yeah. Armillary Sash. Naja, one of my favorite kits. You want to talk about characters that can kind of 2v1 or have a lot of options to them like Isis? Naja is absolutely one of them. An entire Fear No Evil negated with an Armillary Sash. There's immunity frames there and the immunity from the ultimate. Obviously, best case scenario, he takes someone to the sky, but sure. Forever one of my favorite characters, the Lotus Prince, I think. A lot of power on that god.
Naja and Tier, right?
Oh yeah, baby.
Yeah. A little Thanatos sprinkled in.
Thanatos, you know, it's wild. I have played Thanatos twice in the past year and a half, and he is still my most played god by thousands.
That is insane.
That
means you played way too much Thanatos.
Yes. The answer is yes. Cold Fury. Taken here by Simplicity. Leashed up a little bit. Stefan's here with a circle of prots and a full leash. Is it out? Is it out? Is it out?
Yeah,
it's out now. Okay, good. What do you do? Okay. Sorry, the real Tom came out real quick. I don't know what Simplicity was doing, picking their nose or something. Finally, the objective goes down. A lot more difficult than it needed to be. Faeles drops an ultimate that probably didn't need to be there. Genetics drops a blink that probably didn't need to be there. All of that because they couldn't figure out who wanted to tank it at the last moment. A little bit rough, but Gold Fury goes down. 2K, 1,500 gold lead.
We've seen a lot of really, really good play from the SML so far this year.
I think I know where this is going.
This is the SMITE Minor League.
Yes. That's fair.
Ugly on both ends. That entire pull. StreakUp popped in the mid lane. Really tough for AMC to deal with a Terra. Love that pick by Asti and Horizon Union, and they make it work. Even with Simplicity getting that Fury, they're still in a pretty good spot.
Stefan running away. No ultimate for Faeles, remember, he had to drop it defensively.
Well, he didn't have to.
But that's, and see that, I won't take that from the play. We see that he didn't have to because of the caster. maniaKK goes down to Terrorem, and the Pyromancer will go in the direction of Horizon Union. What has become SMITE 101. Enemy gets gold, we get mid lane tower and Pyro if we succeed well.
They succeed pretty well. Horizon Union really holding their own here. This is the type of game that I was expecting. Back and forth, mostly high-level play. These teams certainly have a ton of potential, and I think that really Horizon Union, if they didn't get off to such a poor start towards the beginning end of this phase, we would be talking about them in that top 2 conversation alongside Flashpoint and Simplicity. It's really just that it took them a little bit to get their feet under them and play to the level that they're playing at now. If they've been doing this for minute 1, man, they'd be in a really good spot, I think, to make land just based on their level of play. As it stands, still possible, but
tough though.
Very, very difficult. This is maybe not mathematically a must-win, but pretty darn close to it.
What's pretty cool about this squad, though, is that outside of Mr. Stefan, I think to a lot of people these are unknowns. I'm sure if you've been following the Combine, you absolutely know that Markus's Hun Batz is fantastic, and you know everybody that doesn't is brain dead and stupid. But for the majority of people that follow the minor league and the pro league and the console league, a lot of these are new names, like I said, outside of our ISIS player, and that's exciting to me. You know, we're here 5-6 seasons deep, and players are still kind of showing up and bringing out new stuff as far as. You got to watch out for Markus in the jungle. He's made an identity on that Hun Batz. Echrome has made an identity as a standout role player. Very rarely do I feel like Echrome really will drop the ball whatsoever. 2-1-2, 2-3-2, kind of consistently, and then every now and then he pops off. Right, Terrorem, he's got some picks that are incredible to watch. Having new players, new identity, I think is one of the more exciting things to watch. And Mr. Stefan, a guy that I think has gotten a bad shake. He's been on so many different teams. Everybody's going to go back to the Vulcan. Looks fantastic. He's played in pro-level teams, and he's played on Combine-level teams. He's just here to be the best he can, grab 4 nobodies. That's happened before, and teams have won world championships off of it. I'm not saying Horizon Union is there just yet, like you said, kind of coming in towards the end of the season. But these are the types of teams that I look at over a long period of time. These are the players that I like to kind of keep an eye on. Every now and then I'll just, it's my wiki. What's Echrome up to? Word. And then 2 years from now, all of a sudden, staple of the Pro League, right? That's really fun to watch. And Horizon Union, you're getting a chance to watch it right here.
They've been playing really, really well, man. I mean, again, some tough competition. This is a very competitive region, really from top to almost bottom. Exordium really the only team that hasn't been competitive so far in the EU minor league, but even down to the 4th seed from last phase, which I believe ended up being Queso.
Yep.
Maybe it was out cold, but both of those teams can win a lot of games against very, very good teams. It's been fun to watch the European minor league this year, no doubt, and Horizon Union's been a great addition.
Simplicity are actually trailing mathematically. 500 gold, give or take. Horizon Union now reaching this mid-game, which is where they should kind of ease up, I think. Markus here on the Naja. This is kind of where he goes to sleep. Early game, he's got a lot of prowess. Mid-game, mid-game, Naja doesn't go to sleep, but the other characters just become a little bit more potent. A Fear No Evil here. Markus doesn't play perfectly, can certainly kind of shut him down. Simplicity, as far as I'm concerned, probably don't want to fight right now. A little late game tilted. So really it's just going to be objective to objective, I think. We're going to connect the dots here in the SMITE game. Only Fury started by Simplicity, or at least looked at. Simplicity have control of the area. Markus showing up, but afraid to really full commit. Horizon Union going to start the party, but Simplicity were waiting for that.
Asty's doing a good job keeping him at bay, as is Terrorem. Look at the zone he's putting on maniaKK and great poke at the exact same time. This is exactly what Horizon Union want to do. They have much more innate sustain in their team draft than Simplicity does. So these poke wars really favors Horizon Union quite well.
And if both players get half HP'd, you drop the Isis ultimate, kill, heal. That's exactly what you're looking for from HU. Genetics down to half HP, pops the ultimate to avoid everything. Terrorem on top of DeathPanter, a non-factor in this team fight. There's the ultimate out of Faeles, and everybody going to be spread in different directions. Faeles has to blink forward. Wonderful job, but Markus catches him on the backside. Echrome goes down to a nice rotation from maniaKK. It's a 1-for-1 so far. But again, DeathPanter back at base. So it's 4-on-3 for Horizon Union. 4-on-2 as StreakUp goes down. maniaKK low, but has the damage as well. Asty dashes forward, and there's the all-out collapse. The double un for Markus. DeathPanter just now back in the building. But Terrorem had forced him out previously. 9-6. Read the kills. And Horizon Union at the Oni Fury. Panter's here.
Markus spots him out, will give the information. I mean, Mr. Stefan and Asty are both very low. Genetics, no ultimate, either for DeathPanter, but Terrorem's going to put the zone on.
Yeah, the last time he sent DeathPanter all the way home. Oni Fury's here. Genetics 10% HP. And with the Isis drop, Simplicity just had no chance. And DeathPanter gets soloed by Terror.
Yeah. Terror took literally no damage in the front half of that team fight. He was completely full HP. No Glad Shield for him either. He went with this Runic Shield rush into a high enemy in Lion, so it's not like he was getting low, sustaining up. No one hit him. I mean, StreakUp didn't even need, didn't force the ultimate either. Terrorem's able to save that, to secure maniaKK in the mid lane, and really just the front line from Horizon Union do a great job and create space for Mr. Stefan and Echrome to put out damage. And Mr. Stefan just constantly tossing out a little bit of CC here, silencing genetics, stunning genetics. We force his ult, that's gone. We don't have to worry about that. We get to surge forward, we get to push up off of that. Mr. Stefan's going to be overcapped on CDR once his passive is stacked, but it's not a big deal. Not a huge loss. Maybe if you're considering going Breastplate of Valor, you should be on Pen Boots. But either way is in a really good spot in this game to continue to play aggressively.
Simplicity here, looking for the Pyro, can't find it. And won't take the fight. I like that choice. Horizon Union now separating themselves from Simplicity. The #1 team in the European minor league.
Yep.
Standings be damned. Do you still believe that?
Yep.
I do as well. And Horizon Union are playing this. And games like #1 are deceptive because the best teams in the world can get stomped on by maybe not the worst teams in the world, but it is not unheard of and commonplace, honestly, for a middle-of-the-pack team to just get an okie-doke game. The right player gets the right pick. Something bad happens in the mid game, and it's a 10K gold lead for a team that has no business being this advanced. Games like number 1 happened. Games like number 3, this is a hard-fought victory. Simplicity are playing well, and Horizon Union are just outplaying them in certain scenarios. And that's the most impressive point to me.
Agreed. And this is, I mean, think back to a couple weeks ago, Horizon Union still a completely bottom-end team.
Yeah.
Push Simplicity to the very edge and nearly win the set. And you go, oh man, okay, that was a good week for Horizon Union, or maybe Simplicity just didn't take them super seriously, didn't prep properly, whatever it is.
Which is likely.
Very likely. Now, there's no denying that Horizon Union has potential to be a top-end team. They need to do it consistently, but I've said that for 3 weeks in a row.
Yep.
It's getting pretty consistent. It's getting pretty consistent.
And it's like Simplicity fails on one of his better characters. DeathPanter showing us what he can do on what I consider one of his best characters as well. maniaKK and a Jormungandr isn't going to complain about the choice. So it's not a draft. Simplicity's individual choices work out. Simplicity's choices work out as far as the team fight. Wonderful ultimate from Genetics there to negate Markus's. But Asti under the tower. Terrorem on the right side. Big boy ultimate from Faeles. And Simplicity going to turn this one around off of it. DeathPanter gets 1 kill, and their chase is on. maniaKK with a double kill. And Echrome dodges. Terrorem can't zone the whole team. 3 for the Earthworm. maniaKK is going to get Thor! The Portuguese powerhouse! How dare you, says maniaKK. How dare you? Simplicity take Horizon Union, chuck him at the wall, and look for the fire giant.
And that's where a little bit of inexperience, a little bit of letting your lead play you, as you often say, is a fatal move. Horizon Union is way overextended to try and kill Genetics, who's a little bit too tanky. That Pridwin shield ends up coming up big for Genetics. And his read of what Markus wanted to do,
whoa,
huge. I mean, getting that CC immunity from the Whirlwind of Rage and Steel, shoutouts to Gormizer, using it to make sure that Markus gets pulled forward and getting it for CC immunity. Markus commits with the ultimate. That makes Asti want to commit with that ultimate. That makes Echrome want to commit to that ultimate. That makes Mr. Stefan want to step up and help. And Simplicity, it fails as Fear No Evil, is phenomenal underneath that tier 2 tower.
It's great.
Just too far forward for Horizon Union, and what was a very solid lead for them is now a noticeable deficit.
Plays like that make you lose your head. I mean, that's a baseball hit. Genetics has less than 0.6 seconds to react to the sound of Najao. That is a small window of opportunity. He reacts, he hits the ultimate immediately. And this is where the human element comes into play. Horizon Union have played fantastically. They played disciplined. They played intelligently. Markus goes, "You negated my ult? How dare you?" And it really seems that I'm oversimplifying it, but reading it, obviously I'm not in comms. Watching the game, that's exactly what happened. Everybody just needs to commit with the ult because how dare you? And then they forget that they're clumped up for a Fear No Evil. That is, the team lost their head in that moment. Oh man, that sucks.
This is a bad defense. No carry has beads right now. Asti can't get tossed because of his passive having a stone down. So Genetics ultimate gets at least 1 from Echrome. His tier 2 tower is gone. I like I understand the idea from Horizon Union. Won't say I like it. I get it because you aren't down by a whole lot. This is still a fight that you can take and you can win. But you have to keep track of your own relic timers. 10 seconds on a bunch of beads means that if Faeles had gone and found a big Fear No Evil, the game was over. They
Credit
stayed
to the
far enough
position.
back, yep. Credit to the positioning. They're keeping the pressure on her here.
Yeah, I really like this. maniaKK's the target right now.
Beads are up now.
60% so far. Markus is going to find 1.
StreakUp.
Bring him right down. StreakUp's a great target for that. But the Sun's land and DeathPanter making everybody know who's boss. Terrorem in the ground. Big heals for Horizon Union. Negated a little bit. There's anti-heal somewhere.
Stefan in some trouble. Faeles continuing to go
maniaKK can
aggressive.
get him.
Markus knocked up. Can't get the sash off. That's 5 in a row for maniaKK. And Echrome is the only one left standing now. Just too late on that Isis ultimate from Mr. Stefan. Ends up being there a little bit too late to that Fear No Evil and Hou-Yi Sun's combination. And that might be enough to get the Simplicity the win.
You pointed out the inexperience earlier on. That is the cross section right there of going from inexperienced to experienced. the amount of experience that they had to have, Horizon Union, to stand tall and take that fight, which I think is arguably the right choice, but the inexperience to tackle it correctly. Simplicity take this one in 3 games, but Horizon Union really put them through the ringer. An impressive one for sure.
This is a real team, no doubt about it. I mean, Horizon Union is a team that you have to be preparing for and ready for when it comes to the European Minor League. Fell a little bit short today. I don't love the chase to take that fight. I know your Relics are coming back up, but that's still a team with Fire Giant. You're not fighting for any reason other than to just fight. All the Relics for Simplicity were still up, so you're not taking advantage of anything there. It just felt like the wrong time to fight for Horizon Union. Take that fight on your tier 2 in a more advantageous positioning on the map. They chase it down to the red buff. And look, this one ends in under 24 minutes, but a very close game and one that Horizon Union's likely going to kick themselves for.
DeathPanter brings out the classic Ho Yi. I mean, that's as classic as DeathPanter in the minor league right there. He brings it home. Ultimates, ricochets is exactly what you're looking for. Faeles on one of his go-to characters as well. A nice look. Again, I'm looking at Markus. He had some nice plays there coming out for his team, and a lot of what Horizon Union was able to do was really impressive. And like Ryan said, keep a lookout on him. I think the Izanami play from Simplicity was something they wanted to keep in the pocket.
Maybe. Could have been, but they definitely had to pull it out, and StreakUp certainly made it work. Simplicity get a very important win because Flashpoint has been playing really well as of late. You don't want to give them the edge. I know it's top 2 that make it to those placements, but you really want to be the first seed. You want to get as easy a bracket as possible because there's going to be some really, really good teams, and you want to get your gimmies where you can.
You were talking about the European Minor League being so incredibly competitive, all these teams nice and close. Horizon Union just inviting themselves into the party as well. It's just getting more muddy up there. So when we look towards the later stages of the season, like you said, the top 2, but everybody got to compete for those moments, and you've got to compete to be on top. 1 or 2 goes right now. We're going to go. We'll be back with more Minor League.